What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Before we start, I just want to thank everyone for the support lately. It's been going insane, and yeah, I just can't thank you guys enough for checking me out, supporting this channel and my main channel. But with all this being said, I want to hop on into ranking my favorite Trippie Red albums. Before we start this, I actually do want to say something though. I know I have a very unpopular opinion when it comes to Trippie's music, so I'm not probably going to have a similar list or agree with almost anyone, which is fine with me. I think that's why a main reason I'm making this video is because I have such a different list than almost everyone. And if you guys have watched any of the new this week's or any of my older videos, then you probably already know what my top 2 or top 3 Trippie Red albums are. But I kind of want to rank everything that he has out, starting with the Love Letter to You 1 in 2017 and going all the way to Neon Shark in 2021. And I know this is probably not a very good time to do a video like this because he's going to be releasing like Trip at Night this year as well. But maybe down the line when we get a few more albums, I could do an updated list, or I could just let you guys know how it fits in later down the line. But if you guys don't know, there's a Love Letter to You 4 and a Love Letter to You 4 Deluxe. I'm going to be counting that as just one project. I'm not going to rank them separately or as their own project because they really coincide good together. Alright, with all that out of the way, I want to start with my least favorite Trippie project, which is A Love Letter to You 1, the original one. Now, it's not that this album doesn't have good songs that I enjoy on it. It's just, I mean, everyone's a fan of, at least a lot of people, it seems like, are a fan of Trippie's old sound, which I'm personally not. I'm more of a fan of what he's doing now. I mean, it's not that I'm not a fan of his old sound. It's just I'm more of a fan of what he does now, which does not really go with what anyone else thinks about Trippie. But some of the best songs on this album are literally like the classics, like Love Scars 2, Romeo and Juliet, Pulse 1469. There's a lot of good songs on this album that are basically classics at this point for Trippie, but that's where A Love Letter to You ranks on my list. Now, moving on to the next album, it's honestly A Love Letter to You 2. These are just my least favorite projects Trippie's released. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of 2017 Trippie. I don't really see the huge hype around it like how everyone does. Maybe it's just a nostalgic factor. But yeah, I'm way more of a fan of what Trippie's doing now. But I do like the songs Bust Down, and my favorite song from A Love Letter to You 2 is In Too Deep. I think that song's pretty underrated, and yeah, that's definitely my favorite song from this project that Trippie's released. But now we can actually start moving on to some of the projects that I'm really a fan of and just stuff that he started releasing more recently. So coming in at number 3, my next favorite project is the Exclamation album. Now, this album might be a little bit high for you guys. I feel like a lot of people would just rank this as dead last, but I don't have really any issues with this album. A lot of people, I remember when it dropped, were saying that Trippie sold out and he made like a pop album and that he just did what the label wanted him to do. And I don't hear any of that at all. I just hear a Trippie project. So I don't know if I really just don't agree with a lot of people. Honestly, something that Trippie always does is drops huge albums, like big track lists. And I think the thing that makes this album stand out is that it has a normal track list length, only 13 songs on it. And I don't really think that like there's that many bad songs on this album. I think there's some bad verses on this album, but I don't really think there's a song that I don't like. I like the intro track, Exclamation. I'm a fan of Snakeskin. I'm a fan of I Try. My favorite song on this album is Lil Wayne and Under Enemy Arms, but Throw It Away, Keep Your Head Up, Mac 10. There's really good songs on this album. I really don't have a complaint with it, really. I mean, it's just kind of weird to have an actual Trippie album that is a normal like track list length, and this is also not a mixtape, it's an actual album. The Love Letter to You albums are just normal mixtapes, so technically Trippie probably only has like 3 albums if you don't count the Love Letter to You's. But moving on to the next album is A Love Letter to You 3. This album is probably how a lot of people did find Trippie if you didn't find him in 2017. I really enjoy like just some of the standout songs on this album, I guess. Like Topanga I love because I love the beat on that song. It's got one of the most unique sounding Trippie songs on it. I Tried Loving and So Alive are some of my also other favorites on this album. And then obviously my all-time favorite is 14999 Freestyle with Juice WRLD. This is one of the only Trippie and Juice songs that's actually officially released. But yeah, if Trippie were to go back to an older sounding style, it would be this style that I'd want him to go back to, with more of the yelling that he kind of doesn't really do a lot anymore because he's really like tamed down his voice. But that's what I think about Love Letter to You 3, and we only got a couple projects left, so we're moving on to the next one is Life's a Trip. Now, again, I know very, very like controversial track list, or I guess like list for me, because I'm assuming most people would rank Life's a Trip as their favorite Trippie project, and then their least favorite Trippie project would either be Pegasus, Neon Shark, or Exclamation Mark. But that's not how it is with me. I'm a fan of modern Trippie more than OG Trippie. And I mean, I still like OG Trippie. It's just I'm more of a fan of what he's doing now. Some of the best songs on this album are obviously Taking a Walk, Bane, Wish. Obviously, this is a really good project, and it's another just 14-song album. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for Trip at Night and to hear what that's gonna sound like, but I'm not gonna lie, I was more excited for Neon Shark when he was hyping up Neon Shark and Trip at Night, and I still think I'm gonna like Neon Shark more than Trip at Night, but we'll have to wait and see. Moving on to one of the last projects we have to talk about is A Love Letter to You 4. Now, this album, you probably all expect it to be my number one, so you probably already know what number one and number two are going to be, but A Love Letter to You 4, and if you include the deluxe, this album has a lot of great songs on it. I would only really rank the original as like an amazing album. If you add the deluxe onto it, I don't really think it adds anything. I mean, it wasn't really worth anything. I'm going to go ahead and say, though, my favorite deluxe songs that they added on were I Love You, Yellow, The Way, How I Was Raised. Basically, all the songs that they added were good. I think Amazing's good. I'm not a huge fan of the feature on it, but if you go to the just original track list and everything, Six Kiss, This Ain't That, Love Me More, Real Feel, Who Needs Love, Lovesick, literally like every song on this album, The Grinch, Sickening, Hate Me. It's just got a really good stacked track list, and this is by far my favorite of Love Letter to You that they've released in the series, and hopefully if Trippie does do a fifth, that it can top this one. But moving on to my second to last favorite Trippie album, so basically one of my most favorites, is Pegasus. This album, I had a lot of hype for it back when Trippie was working on it, especially when he confirmed that the track list was going to be 25 songs plus. That kind of is a little worrisome because you don't know how much mid is going to be on the album, but in my opinion, the album is really good, obviously, if it's this high on my list. I listened to this album when it was leaked a little bit, but I really got into it when it released. And yeah, I mean, I think it has really good songs on it. I think Excitement is a good song. Love Scars 4, personal favorite. We, V12, Spaceships, Never Change. No honorable mentions. Kid That Did, Sleepy Hollow. I think that this album is just really stacked with a lot of like kind of spooky or just like darker sounding songs. I don't know, with it releasing like the day before Halloween, it really fit the theme of it. And I know it has a really controversial artwork, which I mean, yeah, I'm not really a fan of it either, but at the end of the day, I don't really care. I'm a fan of this album, and I'm glad that we got it. Do I wish they would have changed a few things from the leak? Yeah, but at the end of the day, we got the album, and that's all I care about. All right, and then, yeah, moving on to my all-time favorite Trippie project is honestly Neon Shark. I've always thought that Trippie's voice would be amazing on a rock and roll influenced album. I've thought that ever since like Ian and MGK started breaking into it, and we started seeing more rappers break into the kind of punk rock lane. I've always thought that Trippie would have one of the best transitions and best sounding voices to do this with, and I'm glad that we finally have Neon Shark with Trippie and Travis Barker. This album has so many songs on it that I'm a fan of. Really, the only song I'm not a huge fan of that I don't go back to and listen to a lot is Dead Desert. And I think that this song has a good mix. And if you listen to it with like AirPods or something that is enclosed, you can really kind of get into the song that way. But other than that, it's the only song that I'm not a huge fan of. That and Geronimo, I'm not a huge fan of. But Pillbreaker, Without You, Swimming, Female Shark, SeaWorld, Red Sky is my all-time favorite on this album. Megalodon, Save Yourself, Dreamer, It's Coming, Leaders, Frozen Ocean. They're all amazing tracks in my opinion. And there's even some leaked Neon Shark tracks that didn't make the album, like Roadkill, that I'm a fan of. I'm really a fan of rock Trippie, and I'm glad we finally have this album. I don't think it's ever going to get the recognition it deserves. I think it's going to probably go down as people's least favorite Trippie album. It is my all-time favorite Trippie album, at least at the moment. And as time changes too, I could end up changing what I think about these projects and the order, but for now, this is what I think about it. But that's all for this video, guys. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for checking me out and supporting, and we'll see you in the next video.